Aquariums 1300 222 702. Give us a call if you would like to build your own aquarium inside. Paul can help you out, or perhaps you just want to gloat about your pool. 1300 222 702. Perhaps you've got an aquarium in your home that when the guests come round, they just look at that rather than talk to you. And I know our son's aquarium is just a remarkable work of engineering. Maybe you've done this. Share your story. 1300 222 702. Or perhaps you've just thought you'd love to have an aquarium and don't know where to start. Well, Paul's made it his life and joins us in the studio. In fact, you've just got rid of your small aquarium. How big was it?
Yeah, the tank we're referring to at the moment was my shark tank.
Yep.
And that was 7.5 metres long.
What?
Yep, it was 2.2 metres high and 2.2 metres wide, and it held about 20,000 litres of water.
Whoa, that is a huge aquarium. How did you fit that into well, obviously wasn't in your house.
No, it was in my business.
Right.
Yeah, so I've kept sharks for all of my professional career, which would be sort of 25 years. And then towards the end of COVID, I got rid of the tank, sort of towards when there was just more and more strains and it felt like it was never going to end. And the tank did need a fair bit of money poured into it to jazz it up again. And then I had a guy interested in buying it. So he took the side off his house, and then we actually moved the aquarium into his house.
So it's just literally a domestic decoration in his house.
Yeah, literally.
That's a lot of work, though, a 20,000 litre tank, isn't it?
No.
No?
It's actually not. I mean, aquarium keeping is surprisingly easy, at providing that you get the right information and you've got the right equipment. But he wouldn't spend a lot of time on it, no.
It's amazing. I would think a 20,000 litre tank with sharks in it would be more found in an underground lair, and you'd be putting evil spies into it as a James Bond film.
Yeah, I think it's a must for that sort of situation.
Yeah, it's good. Maybe with frickin' laser beams.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
We'll be doing that. 1300 222 702. I wasn't sure whether I dropped you in it because I know that your business is aquariums, but also people nowadays even more fascinated about turning backyard ponds into aquariums as well, and that can be a great pastime too.
Oh, 100%. And how easy it is when you get the right advice.
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing more relaxing than just sitting back in your backyard and just watching your fish, just part of the natural ecosystem. And once again, with the right inspiration, the right advice, it's a super easy thing to do.
Bob, where are you? Are you near Albury?
No, I'm in our town, Simon, and Paul. It's Bob of our town, Cabby Emeritus calling in.
Oh, yeah.
But it is about a cement pond in Albury town.
Ah.
Albury is where Nana Albury had her house in East Albury. Now, a few years ago, we did the research because the pond was where the kids swam at Christmas time. But over the years, and now they've grown and gone, it's a very dark shade of green.
So are you talking a swimming pool rather than a pond?
That's right. And you know what? The hillbillies. Granny said it was a cement pond.
Well, that's
this is what it.
Sorry, it's quite popular now to do that, convert your pool into an actual pond.
Yeah, Costa Georgiatis has one of the most healthiest backyard ponds. And your Nana's pond is good, Bob?
Oh, yeah, the structure's fine. The water's very green. But we had the idea of getting trout or Murray cod out of the Murray River down there, or the Murray Creek, or whatever you want to call it, and maybe some yabbies and put in, and a couple of frogs or two. I looked at the research on it and worked out bricks and rocks and dirt and all the rest of it. But the question was on aerating it, so the fishing things didn't turn upside down. And
how would you aerate it, Paul?
Well, there's various ways of aerating it, by putting in a large external pond air stone.
Yep.
Or just making sure that there's a recirculating pump that agitates the surface of the water so the gas can exchange.
And do you actually have to put in the air circulation system for a backyard swimming pool, or not necessarily?
It's relative to the amount of stock you have. So if you have quite a fair bit of stock in there, you will absolutely need to aerate it.
Yep.
If there's not a lot of stock in there, then it isn't necessarily required.
I wonder if Costa Georgiatis will answer his phone, because he's actually got a really healthy backyard pond. And so much so these big, fat tadpoles hang on the surface. And he's got reeds and frogs and everything. Answer the phone, Costa, you slacko. I bet you we get the voicemail.
I've met Costa before at a freehand Christmas party.
Can I come to the phone
Phone right now and leave a message.
Or leave a message.
Yeah, thanks. Costa, we were ringing to talk about your backyard pond and you put me on voicemail. No Christmas gift this year.
You're listening to Weekends with Simon Marnie
on ABC Radio Sydney.
I know that our son engineered this most amazing, because you were saying an aquarium is not hard to maintain, and his almost self-cleans because you've got a growing area where he's got aquaculture and then another part of the aquarium that has fish that just clean it, and then the decorative one. So you can actually get into systems for aquariums, can't you?
Yeah, 100%. You can make the system work with each other, sort of for each other, interact with each other, just even with a basic bit of understanding.
This texter says, general tip, larger tanks are easier to keep, go as big as practically suitable for your space, which seems to be against the intuition, but you're saying that's right.
Yeah, and it is relative to stock. So in general, a larger volume of water will be a more stable volume of water and will generally require less interaction. So a bigger tank, assuming you don't overstock it, will typically be easier and more stable.
Is there a stocking formula for a tank, or does it depend on different fish?
Yeah, it totally depends on the different fish, but it also depends on what you feed the fish. If you feed very high quality foods, then you'll get very low waste output, especially with some of the probiotic foods that are available in the market, where you can get foods where when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo eats the poo.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually stock more and have less impact on the environment according to the food that you feed, whereas most commercial fish food is just processed crap in a can. If you get good quality food, it really makes a difference.
And then, as Nelson, our son's done, he's got fish that eat the waste as well, and that's part of that whole system which you can really get into.
Yeah, 100%. So you've got some scavenging fish. They tend to have little barbells on them, and they'll run around and literally eat the poo from the other fish. And then you can get other fish that have little sucker mouths on them, and they'll literally go around and clean all the algae off the side of your tank.
That's what he's got. Then they stick to the glass. They look like miniature flatheads. They look quite fascinating.
Yep.
And so when you're creating this aquarium tank, that's what you're looking at, isn't it? To try and get all your different fish.
Yeah, and then even within the different fish, if the mouth opens up, they're typically a top dweller. If the mouth opens forward, they're typically a mid dweller. If the mouth opens down, they're typically a bottom dweller. So also dispersing out the fish to make sure they're not sort of getting in each other's way too much. And then just finding a good advisor. If you find a local aquarium store that you can tell is passionate and you can tell cares, and then the best advice I can give you is create that relationship, nurture that relationship, and then on a regular basis, bring them down a little video of your situation, let them look at it and bring them a sample of water, because they can check on your water for you. And now we've got, for example, spin test machines that we just put it in. It gives us a digital readout it takes 2 minutes, tells you all about your water. We can look at the video and we can not only tell you what's happened to your tank if you have a problem, but we can also tell you what's likely to happen. So a good relationship with an aquarist is really important.
And then that informs how you clean, because for me that's one of the most perplexing things is cleaning your tank. But I guess if you've got a good system, you're not cleaning as often, are you?
Yeah, that's very much the key. But we also need to distinguish that let's say a basic tropical fish tank can be very, very easy to look after. I mean, not even requiring maintenance on a weekly basis.
Wow.
On the other hand, if we're talking about, let's say, a large-scale reef aquarium, this is a hobby.
Okay.
So if we distinguish the freshwater as a piece of furniture, and as you were saying earlier in your introduction, I've got customers that have got millions of dollars of water views, and then I'll install an aquarium for them for several $1,000s, and they're like, everyone's looking in my water, not at my water. Do you know what I mean? And an aquarium can be a beautiful piece of furniture, a great pet, and a wonderful hobby all in one. But we do need to distinguish that a reef aquarium is a hobby. It is something you're going to need to spend time on, at least weekly.
Right.
Whereas on the other end of the scale, a basic tropical fish tank, they're the sort of things that we put in gyms and doctors' surgeries and stuff. We might go there every 4 to 6 weeks and no one's touching it in the meantime, and it looks fabulous because you've got your cleaning catfish, you've got and you've got it to the point where literally nobody is touching it in 4 to 6 weeks. as opposed to a reef aquarium, which is not going to tolerate that.
But that then can turn itself on its head, because we were talking during the news about the jellyfish, which have become a bit of a fad and usually lit with a glowing purple or pink light, and they just hover there.
Like a lava lamp.
And you were saying people just get bored.
Yeah, well, we went through a jellyfish phase as well, and where it was sort of new and exciting. But ultimately, animal welfare is my main interest. And the reason why I went a little bit off jellyfish was for two main reasons. Is that one, I found that people, that was a fad for them, and they'd set up a jellyfish-specific tank.
Yep.
It would go really well for as long as their interest would hold, which for me, I only found for most people was 3 to 6 months, and I don't think that's acceptable. Then I found that people would go putting fish in those tanks and things that weren't appropriate for those tanks. So that sort of didn't sit okay with me, so that's why I'm not sort of really selling them anymore. But for someone that has a genuine interest in it, it's really not that hard.
Can you put sort of spies into a jellyfish tank and have them killed and eaten without any trace by organisations? Do they work like tanks with sharks? You could definitely.
ABC Listen. What would it take to survive the unsurvivable?
Water was pouring into my cabin and rising very, very fast.
In 1973, a ship disappeared off the coast of Tasmania, launching one of the greatest survival stories Australia has ever seen.
We just survived hell. In all Malcolm, I don't know who won the Caulfield Cup.
From the Dead, Season 2 of The Expanse podcast. Find it on the ABC Listen app.
The ABC does not recommend keeping pets to get rid of assassins. But if you do, jellyfish and sharks are going to be the ones for it. We're with Paul Talbot. He's with Majestic Aquariums, and I'm sure you can go there for more questions if you have any, as we talk keeping fish. And it can be an aquarium in the backyard. We've learnt from Paul that you have your reef style one, which is a hobby. You're going to have to do work on it. Or you've got your freshwater tank, which really becomes a part of the furniture and you can maintain with just a little bit of work. And then we've been talking about the backyard pond, whether it be the swimming pool convert or indeed something like Dave. Dave, you've got a backyard pond?
Yeah, I do. I've got a small backyard pond. It's about 1 metre by 2 metres, maybe slightly bigger. And my problem is I've got a koi carp that is way too big for the pond. He's about 45, 50 centimetres long, and I have no idea what to do with him. I mean, we love him, and feed him, but we think he deserves a better home. So,
wow. And how big does it have a name?
We call him Bluey. He was actually a blue-coloured koi. He's actually lost his blue hue, but his name's Bluey. We bought him when he was about 2 centimetres long, and now he's about 2 or 3 kilos and almost 50 and dominating the pond, and we just feel guilty about it because he deserves to run free somewhere. And
not in a river around New South Wales, definitely.
No.
What do you think, Paul?
So there's many rehoming programs for your fish, particularly through the PIAA, the Pet Industry Association of Australia. But if you got in contact with me through Majestic Aquariums, I could definitely rehome it for you, and then we could find a nice big pond. I've actually got quite a few ponds right now that I'm working on that I actually do want some larger fish for. So getting it rehomed through a local aquarium shop or contacting the Pet Industry Association of Australia, or if you are in Sydney, obviously you can just contact me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely do that. And we care more about him and him having a nice life rather than getting any money for him or anything. So I'll definitely give you a call.
Hold the line, Dave. We'll give you the number and you can get in contact, and Bluey might find a much nicer palatial home. Because people probably don't realise, I know that when we put a yabby in for our son, we didn't realise the yabby was going to live for 16 years. And you've got to take that into account as well, don't you?
You do. And having a realistic lifespan for your fish is important. Because while you do hear stories of a 16-year yabby, a lot of the time people buy fish that maybe don't naturally last as long as they think. So they'll buy something like a neon tetra, which in the wild might only last a year or two. And then after several years, the fish might die and they might be disappointed But the reality is having an understanding of how big the animal grows and how long the animal grows can really help to manage your expectation.
And if you buy a tortoise, be prepared for it to outlive you, basically.
Absolutely.
It's been fascinating to catch up. As I said, people can find out more at your Majestic Aquarium website.
And YouTube.
And YouTube as well. And what's your holy grail? If sharks you've let go of now because of the tank, what's the one you'd love to have?
The one that I don't have that I would love to have?
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a red-tailed catfish soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
You've got to Google it.
Is it like the Siamese fighting fish but on steroids?
Yeah, I've set up this huge tank for it.
Yeah.
And I'll get it soon. And it's just looks like a big muppet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, mana. I want to see that one. For joining us on the weekend show, Paul Talbot, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Making our way through to the latest news at 10 o'clock. Saturday Talk About, of course, at 2 minutes to 11 on ABC Radio Sydney. This being the 11th day of the 11th month. We'll pause for 2 minutes and a minute of silence to reflect and remember those who have served Australia. But also coming up at 11 o'clock this morning, a sonic journey from the musical director of Wicked. He's going to take us through the compositions of composer Stephen Schwartz. Godspell, Pippin, he wrote while he was in university. Wicked, he wrote just recently. So it's going to be a sonic journey of show tunes from 11 o'clock on ABC Radio Sydney. It's going to be a hot day today. Tops of 36 degrees in Penrith, 32 in Parramatta, and even 30 degrees in Robertson. So look after yourself. Stay in air conditioning if you can. Robbo right now 23 degrees, Engadine 19, and Penrith 21 degrees. News time 10 o'clock.